fault.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, no.
Hey, everybody. This is Nerd Variety, and I am Hunter, your leader. And
Debatable.
your co-leader.
There you go.
And I am joined by this one right here, Hannah.
Hello.
And this one down here, Josh.
I'm actually left of you.
Well,
But yes,
on my
Josh.
screen,
Hey.
you're below me. And I think that's how it shows up in the video anyway. So, okay.
I thought for a second there, I thought you were going to say that's how it should be.
No,
I
that's
was going to be like,
terrible.
Hunter!
Terrible, Hannah.
Gracious.
Wow.
I thought
I'm
that's
gonna
what you were going to
move-
say.
I'm going to move you two if I can. I don't think I can.
I
Anyways,
don't think I can.
all right. So today we are talking about Batman villains, and we are going to rank them. I usually do not keep my glasses on because of the glare, but today I need to read things, so I will keep them on.
Yes.
So today,
Extra nerd today.
yes. Today, starting with the ranking, to start it off, we're going to begin with the most recent villain to have his own movie. And because to me, it just seems like an obvious ranking. Also, to start, I will say that we have talked about it, and we will rank on a scale. So we're not doing these in a specific order as we go. We're just going to kind of talk about them. I'm going to kind of choose them at random, and we're going to number each of them 1 to 10, what we think their ranking is based on.
But we have 15 characters that we're hoping to get through, so they're not going to all have their own number.
Yeah.
We might have multiple 8s.
And this is going to be based on their threat level to Batman, the creativity of the character, and the quality of associated material. So, you know, there may be a great character, but they haven't been explored all that well, or everything around them is poorly written, which doesn't happen much in Batman, in my opinion. But yeah, you know, some are better than others, so we'll consider that. All right, so to start off, yes, we will talk about the Joker. I think he's pretty undeniably the best Batman villain for sure. One of the best, if not the best, villains of all time.
Why?
Well, first of all, he just has he's such a great contrast to Batman. He literally stands for nothing. He's not even out for his own good all the time. He's out for whatever he feels like doing at the time. And that's why Batman has the most difficult time with him, because he never knows why he's doing anything. He never knows what he's going to do. And I don't think the Joker does either. He is pure chaos and pure evil. And like, it's just, again, it's the exact opposite of Batman. So I think he poses the greatest threat to him, because he's like the only one that Batman can never fully understand what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's kind of like I guess they're kind of switched up in a way. Batman's a character who dresses like very, very, dresses to scare people, but he's actually on the side of good. Joker's dressed like a clown. Clowns are supposed to be, characters that are funny and, supposed to make people laugh or, give you joy. I can't think of a clown that gives me any joy.
Pennywise?
But he is.
Oh.
No, you're wrong.
Fine. Although he was made around the time that Joker was made around the time that clowns were still fun and everything,
Yeah. But it was cool to make it like a a different thing of like, oh, this is a character of fear but order and justice. This one's a character of insanity and chaos and death, and I like how they kind of play off each other that way.
And they're breaking a lot of
And
stereotypes with that.
Yeah. And Joker is also is a great villain because he doesn't really have it's hard to really figure out what's his issue, like, and you don't really know what his issue is, because all you know is that he's most versions have him falling into a vat of chemicals and driving him insane, but you don't really know what his thing is. I guess it's
Yeah.
he becomes a
Yeah, and while we wait for him to come back, he is great because he's just a big mystery. Like he always is changing his backstory. He's always changing what made the Joker, and it's great. Usually it involves Batman directly, which is one reason I guess he has a connection to him, and that's one of the more disturbing things about him too. He always seems to feel that he has the strongest relationship with Batman. And he does. It's a very personal relationship to kind of both of them. Even though they don't know each other like Joker doesn't usually know Batman is Bruce Wayne, but they both identify more, and I think it's great as well because before I get to that point, Batman is more his true identity instead of Bruce Wayne. I think he believes himself to be more Batman than he is Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is more the disguise. And I think that's perfectly personified with Joker as well, being that he's just the Joker and he doesn't have like I guess you could say, normal version of himself. And I think that's like the greatest way to compare Joker with Batman.
Yeah.
I also just
Joker doesn't even like
appreciate
the idea of Batman having a secret identity. I was just going to say that.
Yeah. I also appreciate the fact that I've thought a lot about villains and what makes a villain good or bad or just kind of neutral. And the one sort of overarching thing that I've seen that I really appreciate in a good villain is really just owning their villainy.
Mm-hmm.
And Joker is like the embodiment of that. Like he takes so much joy in being ruthless that he really makes for a really terrifying villain just in general, not even when you think about like how he challenges Batman.
Yeah. And like his biggest thing is well, I don't know if it's his biggest, but I need to work on better phrasing for that. But what I think is great about him is that he literally, like, he has nothing really to live for except Batman and just kind of ruining his life. And he many times is just like, if I recently watched Hush, the animated one, and even though I don't like it overall because of what they did with that character, Joker in it, Batman starts beating the hell out of him. Sorry, I don't know. Do I need to bleep that? Oh well. He starts beating the crap out of him, and then he just says, Batman almost kills him, and Joker just stops and says, as much as I would love for you to break your code, I would really prefer it be for something that I did, because he was kind of framed. But that's the whole thing. Like, Joker kind of wants to die, but not because he doesn't have anything to live for, but he wants to go out as like a joke. He wants to go out being the reason that Batman finally broke and killed somebody.
Yeah. And it's always bad whenever if you have like a scenario where he actually does that, it's always bad.
Yeah.
But thankfully he hasn't done it in a mainstream, instance.
Yeah. I don't really know many times. I don't know if I can actually recall one specific one at all where Batman killed Joker. He pretty much killed him in The Dark Knight Returns, but he didn't actually.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much did, but I think Joker kind of ended up killing himself, basically.
Yeah.
Although it was real close. And then in Injustice, Superman killed Joker, and that kind of sparked the whole thing, which I think is just a wonderful story.
So the biggest question is, the biggest question is, do we go ahead and say that Joker is the perfect Batman villain, or do we want to leave him at a 9 and say that there's always room for improvement?
I want to put him at a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and give him a 10. He challenges him mentally and physically. Well, not so much physically because he doesn't really stand up well in a physical fight, but
Yeah,
mentally and spiritually he challenges Batman.
he does. And like all the stuff that he's in, it could also just be because of the quantity of stuff that he is in. I think Joker has the best quality stories.
Yeah.
So, Hannah, what's your vote?
Yeah, I'm down with that.
10?
I generally am a person who leaves room for improvement, but I don't think it's ever going to get any better than Joker because I think that would be very, very difficult to do. So we'll give him a 10.
So now, moving on, because there's just a lot to say about Joker. There still is. We could do a whole episode on Joker. But
Yep.
so speaking of people who haven't, speaking as Joker who tries to get him to kill, but hasn't really succeeded, we can talk about someone who, as far as I could tell from reading the comics, this character has gotten Batman to kill. And that is Deacon Blackfire. He shows up not a lot. I only really recall one major story arc that has him, which is Batman the Cult. And I think he does come back a little later, but I don't really know for sure.
Probably a minor role.
Yeah, probably. So he is really old. I don't remember if they explain how he is so old, but not like Vandal Savage old or Ra's al Ghul old, I don't think. But yeah, he's old and he's kind of changed a lot over the years and eventually found that the best way to try to control people is through religion. So what he does is he kind of makes this cult, obviously, and kind of drugs people and forces them to believe in him and this weird, crazy stuff, and brainwashes them. He captures Batman, brainwashes him, forces him to eat just like barely enough to stay alive. And what he does feed him is a hallucinogenic. So beyond being, on top of being tortured, his body kind of beaten from that, him being just exhausted both physically and mentally, being strung up and beaten for like a week or so, and being, fed just barely enough and given that hallucinogenic, he's pretty out of it.
Tripping.
Yeah. And he kind of loses his willpower to survive and really have his own will. And then Deacon Blackfire kind of takes him along on a mission, and I believe that he ends up killing someone.
Do you know who he kills?
It's just some like random thug, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It takes a lot. Robin has to like come break him out and everything, and he's pretty broken. He takes quite a while. He actually retreats. He leaves Gotham for a while and lets the city be taken over by the cult, and then he comes back later and to defeat Deacon Blackfire. So the whole thing, I think that makes him a pretty formidable foe. However, I would also say that he doesn't necessarily pose a big physical threat to him due to the circumstances of all that. Yeah. Definitely like a mental threat, and just in terms of the fact that he can manipulate a lot of people into doing this stuff. He's a threat in that way, but
in terms of creativity of character, I don't feel like he has a ton going for him, though.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And also, while the cult, I think, is really well written, it's pretty good. I don't think that's enough to bring him too high up on a list.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty much the only appearance he makes. Besides, the only other place I really know him from is Arkham Knight.
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah, and
he's a very
even
minor character.
that, yeah, seems like my character. And looks like there's a couple other issues that he was in, but very, very minimally.
Yeah. What's the name of his cult? Is it named?
I don't know. I don't know that it is.
Because he sounds like he could be confused for the Church of Blood, and he kind of shares some ideology, some tactics with League of Assassins.
Yeah, I feel
Right.
like using, religion or like having something that's religious based and dealing with brainwashing is not super original.
Yeah.
I feel like you see that a lot of other places.
So this is a tough call for me. I'm thinking a 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
I'm
Because
definitely gonna
I
say
agree.
lower.
because he broke Batman and actually got him to kill someone.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6 or 7 because he got Batman to kill, and he was able to hold him for so long, and to have that effect on him. So between 6 or 7. So I guess 6.
Yeah, I'll concede a
5.5.
6.
Okay.
Okay.
So we got a 666.
Whoa.
Good for us. Good for us.
Is it?
Yeah. All right. And going from one character to another, following that thread of breaking Batman, how about we talk about Bane? When Bane first showed up, he was pretty tough. Yeah. That's great, Josh. It doesn't come through the podcast all that well. Okay, so when he first showed up, he actually wasn't necessarily a villain for a while in Nightfall. You got a lot of his backstory growing up in the prison, Santa Prisca prison, and I think that's what it's called. And he learned a lot. He's very intelligent, and he actually, before he ever even fought Batman, he broke out all the criminals in Arkham Asylum, and so the streets were overrun with villains, and that eventually caused Batman to just wear out because, of course, he was not going to stop. Bane knew enough about Batman. He did his research to know that he wasn't going to stop. He wasn't going to rest. He wasn't going to slow down until he put all the prisoners back where they needed to be. And he was exhausted by the end of it. And then Bane is already pretty freaking strong. I don't remember if he actually had Venom at the time. I think he did, but I don't remember for sure.
Yeah. Most iterations have him have them testing Venom on him while he was in the prison, and using that to enhance his strength.
Yeah.
To where he's more of he's a lot more of a physical challenge, along with being a
Master
mental
strategist
combatant with that. Yeah, strategy combatant for Batman.
Yeah. And so he did eventually end up fighting him, and he's already probably stronger than him.
Oh yeah.
Especially when Batman was in that weakened state, he was definitely stronger than him, and he managed to. He had that famous scene, where he lifts him up and then breaks his back over his knee. And that put him out of commission for quite a while. That was another time where he was sent off, and he left Jean-Paul Valley in his stead to clean up the streets, and that's a whole other thing. But we've seen Bane. Bane is one of the more popular ones. Sometimes he's super smart. Some iterations we'll not really discuss too much, but Batman and Robin, terrible. Sometimes he's just a mindless goon who's just super strong.
Well, some cartoons, I think, like I think the Batman had him as just a super strong goon. Like he was just all muscle.
Yeah.
But you have I think the anime series where he was more of like hunting him. And then you have like the Dark Knight Rises, where he was like Batman's biggest. Like he challenged him in so many ways, like physically too, that he wasn't ready for.
Yeah. And just because of all of that, and sometimes it depends on because he's usually getting new versions of his Venom. Some have a bigger toll on his mental capacity, so he's kind of one of those that can be really great. He can also be kind of a throwaway sometimes.
Yeah.
But
They
I'd say,
showed that in the Arkham games.
oh yeah, they did.
They showed that in the Arkham games, I think, with Origins and with going from Asylum
City
to
and
City.
yeah, Asylum, City, and he may have even been a Knight. I think he was
I
a
don't know if
Knight.
he was a knight.
Maybe just a little bit, or maybe not at all. Maybe I am thinking of his appearance in City. But yeah, either way, he's at least usually a very physically challenging opponent for Batman. But of course, Batman is usually smarter and able to use his environment to stop him. So I want to put him at an 8.
Ooh, 8.
Yeah, just because a lot of it's really good, but as I said, some of his appearances kind of bring him down a bit by not really portraying him as well as they could. Kind of showing him mindless.
I'm trying to think of. I'm trying
And
to average
I
off
think
of his
he's-
appearances. It's hard to. It's hard. I'm trying to like. There's no. It's not really equal. It's somewhat equaled out versus from like. Oh, he's a mental and physical challenges, or he's or he's just a physical challenge.
Yeah. But and again, just I think he's pretty creative. I know super muscular giant guy isn't necessarily creative, but he's got the Venom. He's usually got that luchador kind of mask going. I think it's kind of interesting. And yeah, just not just being like always like a meathead big guy, being smart too and a master strategist. I think that brings his creativity up. So I'm sitting at him with an 8.
I want to give him a 7.
Why y'all hating on Bane?
Do you think he should be higher?
Why do you hate me? Yeah, I think he's I know I can't really hear that, but
Oh.
I want to say I want to give him a 9.
Well, I guess
just
8's the
based
middle
on
ground.
his-
I was going to say, so I guess we'll average that out to an 8.
Yeah, just his potential is a 9, maybe even a 10.
His potential,
But,
I
you know.
think, could be a 10, but I think,
Yeah.
again, due to the,
I don't know. No, he's not on par with Joker.
well, again, he has the potential to be. I'm saying he's not.
I don't think so.
He's not a 10.
Because like
They both
the Joker plays so much more on
Again, we're
the
not
mental
necessarily
side
doing
of
these
things.
comparatively. We're
I
not
know,
doing these
I know.
comparatively.
I just feel like a physical for Batman
All right.
specifically. I feel like a physical opponent is never going to be as detrimental as a mental opponent.
Well, of course, but again, that's why he also is a master strategist, and I think that's something that makes him up there, puts him
Gotcha.
up there. So, it looks like we're agreeing on an 8, an
Okay,
average of 8.
I have a question though,
Okay.
sure.
because I'm concerned that we're not going to rank anyone lower than Deacon Blackfire. So, is there anyone on your list that you think
someone that
deserves to be lower?
I have a couple actually that I think are going to
Okay.
be lower. This first one may not be. Some people may not like my ranking of this. My take. I'm thinking Two-Face. I think he's creative. Like in theory, I think his design and general idea is creative, like the duality thing, and just showing that very physically, and has the coin and everything. I just think he's kind of like, I don't know, I don't find a lot of depth in him. He's very two-sided. He's either well, I mean, you know what I mean. He's either like he's either all or nothing, pretty much. He's either good or he's bad. There's like no real depth to him in mind.
When he is bad, how much I'm not super familiar. How much of a threat does he pose?
I wouldn't say much. Really.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. He can be kind of looking at like he can run a gang. He can make Batman kind of have to think about, oh, he's got kind of bipolar, this identity disorder going on, which side, how is this thing being, what's his plan, what's his,
Yeah.
what's his mindset going toward,
And
Mhm.
I think
in this like time I'm fighting him.
and I think a lot of it too is just that I don't know. Again, like I almost didn't put him on the list. He's just one of those classic ones that you kind of have to put on.
Yeah.
But you
Don't
didn't
forget
put Poison Ivy
he
on
was
there.
yeah. And don't forget, he was also he and Batman were friends. I think Bruce and Harvey were friends in
and
a
I
lot of
think
iterations.
I think that's one of
Which is
his strengths too. Is that in terms of the quality of material, there is Harvey, and his that's what kind of stops Batman sometimes from really putting all he's got against fighting him. I don't think it stops him all the time, but he still kind of holds out some hope.
He knows the guy's going to kill people, based off his, he's
Coin flip.
insane and all that. But he also wants to, help him or make sure he's in somewhere where he's not hurting someone.
Yeah. So
so a small soft spot.
I want to very fittingly rank him as a 2.
I was gonna say a 3, but I'll go with a 2.
I almost want to give him a little more, but I think a 2 because it's Two-Face.
I'm okay with that.
A 2 would be fun. I was gonna say 5 with that whole backstory, and he's definitely lower than all the other ones we mentioned so far. But yeah, we'll say 2. 2 for Two-Face.
Yeah.
So I've been Googling all of these guys that I'm not super familiar with, and it turns out that on Wikipedia there's this nice little bit that says abilities to kind of give you just a rundown of what it is. And for Two-Face, it's like criminal mastermind, master marksman, expert lawyer, skilled in hand-to-hand combat. It's like he's kind of an above average dude.
Thug.
Yeah, but that's kind of really all he's got going for him.
Yeah. He's a very top ranking mob boss.
Yeah.
And along with that kind of feel, along with that, actually very much in line with that, we'll go to another one that I would rank rather lowly. Black Mask.
I thought you were going to say Black Mask.
I like Black Mask. I think he doesn't have enough representation in film. I think they should start doing more with him. But he is...
And they are.
Yeah, like he is pretty much just a mob boss. He's a good mob boss. Like he's really high on the list of mob bosses, but that's still like I didn't put Maroni or Falcone on the list. It looks
both of those guys are
holy crap.
It looks like he had some amount of mind control is what I'm seeing on here.
Black Mask?
That's what I'm seeing. I don't know. Wikipedia, who knows how accurate it is?
I don't know. Are you sure you're reading that right? I've never seen any of that.
I don't know. But regardless, it's still kind of just that above average thug.
Well, so I want to put him at
4.
I was gonna say 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah,
I'll give him a 4.
Say 3. Just because
3.
Yeah, 3.
All right, we'll give him a 3.
He seems a lot more organized than Two-Face.
Yeah.
All right, now going up to some of the other ones. Okay, with let's go associated with Red Hood, if only barely, only because of the movie. I want to go with Red Hood. Yeah.
I'm automatically gonna put him a little higher on the list, just because of I feel like the emotional impact.
Yeah.
Of everything with that situation.
He's just such a good character. He's a fan favorite to a lot because he had that connection as being because it's Jason Todd. He was the second Robin.
Mm-hmm.
He had some stuff, and I always think it's funny that he turned out to be such a loved character as Red Hood when he was killed in the first place because fans didn't like him and they voted to kill him.
That's funny.
Yeah, kill him.
Yeah, they voted to kill off Jason Todd, and then he came back to life. I think it's always through the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah.
And
It was a retcon punch in the comics,
yeah.
but
I couldn't
I
remember
like
in the
the
comics, but I knew
yeah.
for a fact in the animated movie it was the Lazarus Pit. Um, I've seen that a lot more than
That's
I
a
have
modern.
read the other one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
But I feel like in
spoilers for
terms of
Young Justice. That was Ra's al Ghul. You see in a red hooded ninja, and that's he says Grayson, and Ra's al Ghul said, "Ah, you remember," and you see a statue of Jason Todd in the Mount
Mhm.
Justice.
Yeah. So I think he's great. I think he has a lot of stuff going for him. He's on par with Batman usually in terms of fighting like skill
well,
and
and
everything
even if
because he
he's
was trained by him.
yeah, and even if he's a little bit less powerful, there's still like the emotional aspect of like Batman
Yeah.
doesn't want to hurt him.
Yeah, and he feels super guilty for letting
Hmm.
him get killed
Right. So he
and taking
actually
him to training in the
is at
first
an
place.
emotional disadvantage.
Yeah. So I want to put him. I want to put him either at a 9 or a 10.
Really?
Yes,
Mm.
because I not only is the material he's in great, but I think, and this isn't the only time in Under the Red Hood or Under the Hood, if you, I think that's the title of the comic book. If you just take that, like he does that kind of thing more than once. After Batman is killed in Batman Rip, he comes back in Battle for the Cowl and dresses as Batman, and he does a darn good job trying to take his place, fighting
Yeah,
against
he
everyone
even has
else.
a female Robin.
I can't remember for sure, but
Yeah.
he doesn't. Yeah, he's pretty awesome. So I want to put him at a 9 or a 10. I can't decide. I'd probably lean more towards a 9,
Yeah, I don't think he gets a 10.
but
I can't give him a 9. I can't give him a 9. I want to give him a 7 or maybe an 8.
I
all
was thinking lower too. I'll give him an 8.
right. So it sounds like we're sitting on an 8.
You're overruled.
Yeah. All right, and since he's related in the storyline, how about Ra's al Ghul?
See, I don't know that
Yes.
much about him.
So
Oh,
he is
they're
awesome.
very involved.
Yeah, he is the leader of the League of Assassins. He was the main guy in the Dark, not the Dark Knight, the one before that, Batman Begins. Liam Neeson. So in that version, he was the one who taught and trained Batman, Bruce Wayne, and he has. I didn't like what they did with him because they didn't like give him the Lazarus Pit or anything, which actually makes him him. But he's definitely a leader. He's very smart and he's very skilled in combat. And the fact that he's basically immortal due to the Lazarus Pit and kind of insane because of it.
Yeah.
I think he's a huge threat, but can also be a great ally to Batman because he's always wanting Batman to kind of take over as the leader of the
Head of the demon.
I don't know. He still seems like he's in the same ballpark as Two-Face or Black Mask, because he's just like a boss, but he found a pond that makes him live for a long time.
No,
Right.
I really
No?
He has like centuries of experience.
Yeah,
And
he does
Batman,
have centuries
and he
of experience.
definitely gives Batman a run for his money, especially with them having similar ideologies about
Well, and
order and
I
discipline.
think that's the
and
next thing I was gonna say,
wanting to,
right? Is I
like,
feel like the biggest difference is the mentality, and he's, I guess, because he basically is immortal, is very patient.
Yeah. And
Oh,
he's
yes, yeah.
not really immortal. Like, so he found this,
Pond.
the Lazarus Pit that he has done a lot of good with. Like like strategically speaking, he knows how to use it, and he's done a lot of great stuff. But he's also a super skilled combatant. And I kind of want to throw in that Damian Wayne is around because of him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talia, Damien,
Yeah.
yeah, baby
And-
mama and son.
So I think that just leads to a lot of great material. So for me, I want to put him at. I feel like it's too easy to go here, but I want to say an 8 or a 9. A 9 would almost be pushing it for me, but maybe an 8. I'd stoop down to a 7 if I had to, but
I'll give him an 8.
I'm okay with Nate.
Just because of the scale of villain he is, he definitely has the skill and he's a physical and mental challenge, and he could definitely take over Gotham if he wanted to.
Yeah.
He definitely forces Batman to act quickly.
Yeah.
or to be prepared for him.
So he's at an 8. How about another? Let's go to another, probably lesser known one. Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange doesn't. He's another one that I don't think has a lot of appearances. He's probably on the more popular side now with Batman Arkham City, and that's really where he got his mainstream popularity, I think. And that is a quality game, and he's a quality character in that game.
Yeah, but he's still in that game like kind of a underling of Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. But he is, I think, one of like 2. Well, I guess Ra's knows Batman is Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think Hugo Strange is like one of 3 people on this list that also knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. And I think he just figured it out.
Yeah.
I
mean,
so he's pretty intelligent.
Yeah, doctor in psychology, psychiatry, all that stuff. And he's been around as a Batman villain for so long too.
He has. Again, I don't think he's had a lot of material, at least where he's a main player, but he shows up a lot, and I think he should have points for being rather original. Because while maybe on a base level his character isn't too creative, I think they have done creative things with him and have made him a more creative person. So but based on
classic character,
based on like his physical challenge and a lot of that, I want to put him at maybe like a 5, maybe a 4.
Oh, I'm down with that.
Yeah. So I like him. Again, I'm thinking 4 or 5. Josh, what are you thinking?
A 4 would be pretty good. Classic villain, but he doesn't show up that much. He's pretty good in Gotham, but in a minor like dosage role. You know, he can add to the story, but he's not a common.
Yeah, he's not usually like a lead player.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Hannah, what did you say?
Based on my very limited knowledge, I will also give him a 4.
4. Okay, it looks like he's sitting at a 4.